Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon where you are in the world. Welcome to this very first inaugural edition, that's redundant, but intentionally redundant, of 3Squares Live. We are so excited to be with you today. We've gone to a live format to give you the opportunity to engage with us and our guests. So we're hoping you'll take full advantage of that. I am Charlie Arnot with the Center for Food Integrity and Look East, and we're working to keep food trustworthy. My two co-hosts, Kevin, Susan, go ahead, introduce yourselves.
Hi, and I'm Susan Schwallie, the NPD Group, and I work with food and beverage manufacturers to drive growth and place bets based in consumer behavior.
I'm Kevin Ryan with Malachite Strategy and Research, and I help CPG and retailers get to the front end of innovation and do better strategy.
Kevin's also our benevolent food scientist and has all of the great questions for What the Food. So we'll be digging into that later today. So for those of you not familiar with 3Squares, we're going to tackle a contemporary, timely issue for just a couple of minutes. We've got a couple of great guests today who are going to talk about their innovative new product, which is fascinating because it comes from a product that is 6,700 years old, and yet it's brand new. So we'll be excited to speak with them. And then after they leave us, we'll have a little bit of What the Food. So you are welcome to join anytime you are interested in doing so. You can hit the Q&A button and the chat button and participate in the conversation. And if it's interesting, we'll decide to take your question. All right, so let's kick it off, guys. We've got our timely topic of the day. This is interesting. We had the White House Food Conference, but FDA came out with a definition, a working definition currently, of healthy. Things like healthy and natural, they've stayed away from because it's kind of the third rail. How in the world would you define it? What do you do with it? But, you know, we spend more on diet-related healthcare in this country than we do on tobacco-related healthcare. And so the need for moving more toward healthy makes perfect sense. But love your reaction to it. What do you think it means? And what does it mean to those in the food system?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Susan. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So look, first of all, it's a pressing problem, right? We all know that over time, we have not been able to, as a society, eat more healthfully. Matter of fact, a study just came out by Tufts, a global study saying that over the last 30 years, the alternative healthy eating index, if you're familiar with a healthy eating index at all, it just ranks on a scale of 1 to 100, the healthfulness of people's food and beverage choices. It has only improved 1.5 points over 30 years on a worldwide basis. And by the way, that score, with 100 being optimal of eating a well-balanced diet, it's sitting at 40. So this is a pressing, persistent issue. And what I think is interesting, what I think is great merit is we're trying to move away from saying, oh, we have deficiencies in certain nutrients, and let's give foods that have those nutrients, whether or not they're good for you holistically, a healthy rating. We're trying to move away from that and say, let's look at the inherent value of foods, the overall holistic value of the foods. Are they nutrient dense? What are they doing overall? The downside is I think it's going to be really messy.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I think there's great opportunity, but great threat that will be perceived by the food and beverage industry. So Kevin, I don't know, what are your takes?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I know that they were being pressured to do it, especially because of the idea that, they felt, or at least, people were telling them that a lot more junk foods, air quote, junk foods were being supplemented with additional nutrients to get to a healthy level. And so they just basically reversed it. I think my larger, more macroscopic question is, from a consumer perspective, how much power does this have anymore? We have moved from a different world. I remember when I started in the food industry, like oat bran and all that kind of stuff. The FDA said it was just something that was on the label. 60 Minutes was talking about it. Now I'm dating myself, and everybody, and it was like, that's what healthy was. We are in a completely different environment now. Not that it doesn't make a difference and it is not going to change the way people see packages, but I don't know how much it really affects as much as it used to the way people think about what is good in food.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kevin, here's my question for you. I mean, you work with a lot of CPG companies. What will this do in terms of their thinking regarding formulation, branding, labeling, et cetera? I mean, I agree with you completely. We are in such a different place where people get information from an unlimited range of sources. And so, the authority, whether it's social authority or actual authority that FDA and others have, has been diminished. So what this actually means to society will be in large part determined by what those who manufacture food do with it.
Yeah.
And so what do you think they'll do with it?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think it'll make a big impact. I'm just saying from a consumer side, I wonder how much power the FDA, that kind of healthy statement makes. No, in the food industry, it will make a difference because that is the tail that wags the rest of the dog, so to speak, is that those type of things will affect labeling and the way in which you say things and all that kind of stuff. And all that detail is yet to be, they still have 90 days for people to kind of, yell and complain and all that stuff. But when that gets worked out, it will have a very large impact on the way in which things happen. I think mine is just a larger question about has the train moved on, so to speak, from a consumer perspective? And do we need to think about it as many different types of healthy from a consumer perspective?
There's a couple things also that come to mind for me on this, Kevin, is I don't think it's going to be easy to explain what that healthy label means.
Yeah.
It's not a succinct, easy, it's complex, like so many things.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, part of me says consumers, what are they going to do with it if they can't understand it? But on the other hand, let's think about this, I'll say success of the all natural or natural label.
Yeah.
Which in some cases isn't even used whether or not it should be used. But it was one of the fastest growing things, whether or not it was supposed to be on a package, that we tracked for a long time. And it resonated with consumers a lot, and it kind of meant different things to different people. So I do think it's going to be fascinating how this plays out from a consumer perception, because I don't think explaining it is going to be easy.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so Susan, one last question for you before we move on to our guests. So you mentioned that the natural played well with consumers, but I want to know from you, which consumers? Right? Was it well-educated, affluent consumers, or was it broader than well-educated, affluent consumers? Because I think that's part of the challenge we have, is that when you talk about the labels and some of these other attributes, they appeal to a specific group of consumers, but is it really broad enough to have an impact on public health per se?
Well, I would say the natural or all natural label, actually, in terms of many labels, was probably the one that was most broadly accepted or looked for, because I think it was the most accessible versus things like non-GMO or organic, or, even more of some of the very functional labels that tend to be, I really have to watch the amount of sodium or fat in my diet. So from that standpoint, I do feel like natural had brought, who doesn't want all natural? Who doesn't want that? Like that,
I
has a pretty big
bratwurst
halo.
Personally, but that's just me. So,
but wouldn't a natural bratwurst taste better?
Probably not. So you think? I mean, if you go over, if we go across the pond, our friend David Hughes, you've got the red, yellow, green, right?
Yes.
So in terms of making this really much easier for consumers to understand, do you see us moving toward that, or is that way too prescriptive for this independent system that we have?
Now I want to hear Kevin.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to happen, or do I think it should happen? That's two different.
You think
questions.
It will happen?
I don't think so. I think that it's going to be that's too onerous from a legislation point of view. It doesn't seem to be the way that we typically do things.
We do not like to legislate food.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but
cool.
Things change.
All right, Kevin, you've scored another couple outstanding guests for 3Squares. Would you like to introduce them? And please turn on your video and join us now.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to introduce to you Opopop. So I've got Sarah Mcdowell and Alec Hopkins here with me. They're right here in my backyard. I'm in Colorado. They're in Colorado. So, and I have, known Alec especially for quite a long time. So let me do a quick intro. Sarah Mcdowell, she's the president of Opopop. And I know a little bit of her background and she can tell us a little bit more. Started off with Lara Bar. She was the national marketing director, and she basically helped develop and execute the Lara Bar brand, especially in the transition to General Mills. And she joined Opopop in 2018. So I have a quick question for her before we even start there. And then also I'd like to introduce Alec Hopkins. He's the VP of Product and Insights. And he is part of the team that really is, bringing great innovation to the popcorn area. So his team, helped develop the flavor wrap kernels, which is really what, if you haven't had Opopop, I'd recommend. Really great stuff. and also leads quality and sales strategy development. So, and he and I met at General Mills years and years ago. He worked at General Mills for over 20 years. So
Alec, did you know Kevin when he was writing cookbooks when he was 12 years old at General Mills?
No, I've heard that story because that was often sort of a pitch as Kevin would introduce himself. But no, alas, I didn't know 12-year-old Kevin.
yeah.
Okay. There,
They make
There's
They-
a book.
they-
I got to get it close enough.
love.
Oh,
to
your
make fun of-
background's blurring it out.
Oh,
I
good.
know.
there.
I'll turn that
that's
off and fix it. But there's
technology
12-year-old Kevin
whining
right
too.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. I got
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. So, Sarah, quick question for you before we jump into Opopop. Tell me, where'd the name come from? You were in the living room when this happened, when Opopop was beginning in development. Where's that name come from?
Well, truthfully, it's a bit of a made up name.
That's fine. That's good.
Yeah. Using the O's and the P's in,
That's cool.
as we were starting this company, everything was an O and a P. It was popping and popcorn and popper and pop, pop, pop. And so Jonas, our founder and CEO, kind of claims it came to him in a dream. The O's and the P's. And, they do visually represent a kernel kind of blooming, right?
Right.
Probably a more marketing answer is we borrowed it from the Greek word apolios, which means to change in color. And opa is a celebratory word we all have heard a number of times. And so from the marketing perspective, we say Opopop, borrowing from apolios, changes the kernels from white to gold.
I love it. I love it that it's automatopoeic too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you said, it has this feel to it. There's an energy to it. So I love
Yeah, but
it.
this is a family show. So
Okay,
let's just
sorry,
be careful
sorry.
if you could. No, thank you. All right. So I've got the first question here, first in the queue. So I'm gonna go forward. Before we came on, we were talking about the fact that I did just a small smidgen of looking to see what was the first recorded use of popcorn. It was 6,700 years ago in Peru, which is really interesting. But as Kevin was sharing kind of the Opopop story, and I ordered some and got it delivered to the house, I wanted to try it beforehand. I thought, well, popcorn's not new. This isn't anything that's new. And yet I opened the box and my wife got really excited and she said, "Oh, that's so cool." And then we popped the product. She goes, "This is awesome." And she started making a list of everybody we're going to send it to for Christmas. So if you are on our regular Christmas list, please don't buy it between now and Christmas because you're likely to get it. But really, I mean, how did you come up with the concept and what makes it work? Because popcorn's not new.
No, popcorn is not new. And, I think our story is probably longer than you expected and maybe a little twistier than you expected. But, the idea really came when our two co-founders were hanging out and eating a lot of popcorn and, like kind of an offhanded comment of, "Hey, I bet we could make popcorn cool again." And they've spent their entire lives making things cool, whether it was through the use of graphic design or in the entertainment, particularly the music industry. And so, I think it was kind of one of those comments that was made and then it just, started taking hold. And a small group of us kind of sat around back in 2018 and looked at the last innovation in popcorn, which was really the invention of the microwave.
Mm-hmm.
And, outside of that, there's been lots of successful popcorn brands, but there hasn't been a lot of, technological advances in this 67,000-year-old snack. So, a small team of us just kind of got to work and, it was a part-time gig for most of us. We relied a lot on our intuition and past experiences because we had no money for, data or consumer insight tools. And actually what we started working on was not a completely different product than we have right now, but we were focused on a more of a B2B food service product, bringing popcorn back into the office where in a lot of places it's been banned because somebody has burnt it one too many times.
Yeah.
And so we were working on that, and the Flavor App Kernels is a part of that platform. But then COVID hit and there were no offices to test with or sell to or prototype
wow.
with.
Huh.
And so, we had a very important meeting, a very short meeting, but important meeting, saying, what are we going to do here? And we had gotten such great feedback from the flavor wrap kernels that we were showing people, particularly investors that were coming in, that we just, it was kind of, you'll probably hear us use the word pivot a lot. Maybe the most overused word of, 2022, but, that was a major pivot to take what we had been working on, kind of pause it and move to direct to consumer and launch with something completely different. So we've been in market only 15 months. We launched in June of 2021. So, this is our second holiday season. We're still on this incredibly steep learning curve and incredibly steep growth curve as well.
It's so interesting to me, like the genesis of this, because in interacting with the product, it just screams to me like classic jobs, needs, state, work. And I assume the genesis was in home, not restaurant.
It's really, it's interesting. We try to stand on the shoulders of the work that was done aimed at that B2B, bring warm, fresh popcorn back to the office, which is definitely a need state and a real opportunity and remains a real need state and opportunity. But then getting to a space where we're like, well, we got some great stuff here, we should sell it. And so let's, the stuff, the food, as the technical guy, it's the stuff, but like the food in it is like, it's the same food. And what we're really pivoting around on is the benefits of that food, just giving it to people in a different way or in a different channel, if you will. The delivery means it gets it from us to the end consumer has changed, but the stuff, and like, I think from the branding, Amy, our graphic design director, was in here, and Jonas, great visual eye. I mean, there's so much energy and life and fun to the brand. And that's one of the things I think is really different from the space. We're not kind of the blue pop secret box that's always the blue pop secret box. And what flavor would you like? You can have any flavor you want as long as it's butter or lightly salted. And I think that's another space where we really, I'd like to think, made some real differences is in the flavors that we can bring, like this kind of sweet and savory. Nobody does sweet. We do a great job with that. We have some really interesting, we did a wasabi promotional flavor in and out, which is really cool and really fun. And so kind of that vibrancy of the brand brings people in, and then hopefully these really differential eating experiences that you just can't get in certainly microwave popcorn is what I think is having people come back. And so,
I loved how you talked about cinnamon at breakfast and popcorn for breakfast. So as someone who's like, our whole thing is like, what time of day, how are people using foods and beverages and expanding to different day parts? Like, how brilliant is that? But I guess these guys have questions too, and I'm totally interrupting, but one of the things for me that really resonated, and I'm wondering where this came out as a driver in your innovation or the feedback you get, is the bowl. Like, it's sustainable, it's silicone, it's not toxic. And I don't believe that you guys have the fume problem with the flavors. I want to learn more about the current, like, there's just a kind of environmental sustainable piece of this that I absolutely love. And I'm wondering, where was that in this whole mix in terms of the reaction you're getting, or in terms of your, R&D process in creating this product?
Yeah, but it's also very cool that it collapses.
I know.
Because
I know, you
because
could
it makes
store it
easy to store.
easily.
Exactly right.
I can get rid of my air popper.
See, we were thinking, the air popper is kind of the worst, actually, in terms of enjoying the product you make, after you pop your popcorn, the air.
But you don't have to clean very much.
You don't, but yeah. It's true.
But you've solved this.
It's so dry. Anyway, I'm partial, but the popper was, as we're thinking about, we have these great kernels, we have these great flavors. Okay, cool. How else are we going to make it different for folks? And having the reusable popper, I don't even remember whose idea that was.
Well, and I think it's always, part of our origin story has been the use of technology and the use of, kind of creating these systems for people. And so I think the popper was a part really of that system. I think you guys were wanting to ask about a question. Oh, I want to tell you more about the popper, because it was a really interesting road. So we created this popper, we designed the popper, we have an engineering team. And what I'm showing you here is the V1 of the popper. So this is last June. This is what we came out with.
Wow.
And you can see here, this is in the microwave. I'm pulling it out. It's hot. Silicone gets hot and like, oh no. And the top flies off and I just burned my hands.
You have to shake
the handles are sweet
to get the flavor on there. And so you're like doing this. And so like, that wasn't great.
Yeah. But we had just
honestly.
made a sizable investment in these poppers, but we just knew that we had to improve it and we had to improve it fast. And so by October, we had a new popper, and Alec can demonstrate that for you, but you can see
you guys got where it's got the
Yep.
that it's rigid and you can't pop the lid off. It's cool because this plastic doesn't conduct the heat as much, and then the lid sits in there much better. So it's a much better popper. And one that we're having a lot of success actually selling just the poppers. We've expanded on Amazon in the last 6 months. The popper itself is all 5 stars, super well rated. And so even the popper itself, outside of the system is a really good product. But it wasn't, honestly, it wasn't when we first came out. And that was something that we needed to fix.
It kind of looks like you pivoted off of the original popper. It's just the V2 kind of look though. Is that right? Or is that just me non-product technical, like a package technical person to look at that and go, that looks like it's just like a alteration, like you did like a quick
guy to this guy.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, there's similar tooling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's
yes
cool.
and no. I mean, we had to actually take a lot of the silicone weight out of that first popper. So there was some tooling costs. And, again, it's not, they are still serving the same job, but the performance of the V2 popper is
much better.
Much better.
Having never used the V1, I know that the V2 works great. So
I've spilled the bowl of popcorn on the floor at Thanksgiving with the V1 popper. So
yikes. Do you have a dog?
No.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
What flavor was it? Did the dog like the flavor?
It was butter. My family goes in for butter. It's kind of the favorite, but cats don't go for it, unfortunately.
No, they don't.
So are you just DTC at this point? No.
No.
So I thought you really wanted Kevin to ask a question.
Shoot, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to sell your product for you.
Ask.
You can get subscriptions to the kernels. It's great. You can gift it. I've already gifted it. So I should do your ads for you.
I'll ask with Susan. Are you just TTC?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good pivot or like a shift to that. And the gifting is a really interesting one that I don't know. I suppose if we had thought really hard about it, we'd have said, wow, it's very pretty. It's nice. It's kind of a whole package. What a wonderful gift. Like that's logical in hindsight. I don't think we knew that going in.
We were at last Q4. We were like, whoa, what are all these corporate people calling us?
We got like Nintendo and Bank of America.
It's brilliant.
For thousands of these things as a gift. And so that's been a surprise, but it's a really big part, especially in Q4 of our revenue, is this corporate gifting space.
Well,
so
it makes perfect sense.
A dedicated person who's like managing that. We've been doing lead up campaigns. And so that's a surprising diversification, I think, from the DTC.
It's nice. I mean,
it's great.
It's a little bit of a seasonal business for us, but because we self-manufacture, we have the flexibility to be able to react to, and plan for something that's a little bit more seasonal. But I would say back to your original question, we launched direct to consumer and we pretty much stayed there all of 2021. And we had, great success. We built up 60,000
customers,
who had ordered. And, we see great repeat week over week, but it's expensive. The advertising is expensive. The shipping is expensive. Everything just gets very expensive very quickly. So we have been trying to diversify into new channels. Again, we're a 15-month-old company. So, we have this gifting that we're talking about. We have, we opened up our other e-commerce. So we're on Amazon now. And we're looking to expand into retail. Specialty retail loves this product.
Sure.
mass retail, we probably have some more work to do still.
Yeah,
It's still product.
Yeah, we're not sure that it lives in a sort of an in-between space to be at whatever, say Target, because you've got the housewares thing,
Yeah.
and you've got the food thing, and it's a little too expensive to be in food, but it has food in it. And so it's not, so we're a little in between. We haven't been able to quite square that vision with them so far. And so we need to, that's obviously a goal. It'd be a great place for us to get, but we're not there yet.
That's a really interesting problem to solve, especially because it's a retail roadblock or structural issue with them, the way that you define the thing and the food. I love that. That's an interesting challenge.
It's making me think of coffee. I feel like you could be in multiple places in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both the
Kevin, you want to ask one final question?
Sure. I mean, I think maybe my question is like, well, actually, Charlie, I think this was your question, so I'll let you do this. I want to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if we come back in 5 years, I love the fact that you've made so much progress. 15 months. That's remarkable, and the fact that you're constantly refining and improving and refining and improving and learning and refining and improving. So as you think about 60 months from now, which may be more than you can wrap your head around in the moment, because I know what it's like in a startup. What are the biggest issues you think you're going to have to tackle? And what do you see in terms of growth and development? Where do you want to continue to go? And what do you think you have to overcome to get there?
Oh, that's a lot of questions. Let's see. I think, our vision, and all of our packaging, we say, welcome to the popcorn revolution, right? So that's our ambition. And I think in order to do that, we need, we've set out to really change the culture around popcorn. It's more than butter. It's more than the movie theater. It's more than a bad substitute for the potato chips you really want.
Yeah.
And so, if we can do that, if we can open up day parts, if we can make it, back to the celebratory nature that popcorn used to be, with the smell and the anticipation and, the marking of a moment, I think we've done a really good job. So that's what we're trying to do. In terms of what roadblocks are there for us or how we're going to overcome them.
I mean, we're really, right now, honestly, like we're thinking a lot about like next year, first 6 months of next year and channel expansion. We're also really focused on, we got to hit the holiday really hard. Q4 starts tomorrow. And
well, Charlie's going to help with that.
A lot of revenue.
Charlie's going to solve that.
Our day-to-day, you guys probably are not surprised, but it's, what does our inventory look like? What does the production plan look like? What does sales look like? And rinse and repeat.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. First of all, congratulations. It's a remarkable product. And,
it really is.
You need to tip of the cap for making it happen and moving it forward. And we look forward to the continued revolution of popcorn. I think it's going to be like the WeWork of snack foods, right? So it'll become that will become the next.
I know.
Oh, no, WeWork, Charlie. No.
I'm sorry. Well, move in that direction without all of the nasty baggage that goes with it.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Very exciting. But
well,
thank you very much for joining us.
Keep
awesome.
you on our journey. That's awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So those of you who are familiar with 3Squares know we are now going to move to What the Food with our benevolent food scientist and trivia master extraordinaire,
Food guru.
Kevin Ryan.
Guru.
Food guru. I like that.
Guru.
That's a better title. I was trying
Kind
to
of
figure out.
rhymes.
Food guru.
I like it.
Food guru.
I like it.
Food guru.
All right, so I want to dive into something that I go down food rabbit holes just to kind of like things I'm interested in. I got really interested in diner slang recently. And I started reading up on diner slang. I don't know if you've heard, like back in the, when diners were really popular, the 1920s through the 1960s, there was this language that was used at diners to not only among the workers live. But among the customers too, right? So what I think that's so interesting about that is, number one, some of that language is still hung around. But number two, it's not that strange because if you think about it, it lends like a sense of place. So if you think about Starbucks has their own language, like tall, venti, frappuccino, all that is another language. And then there's secret menus of like In-N-Out Burger and all that stuff that you speak a
Mhm.
particular language. So what's interesting is that a lot of that diner slang probably was about that building the experience. Like people used to talk about going on vacation in New York and just going to diners just to hear the slang. And some of
Wow.
that actually seeped over into words we use now. So for example, eggs over easy, that's diner slang.
Ooh.
Sunny side up, diner slang. The works, like on a burger, when you
Mhm.
put everything
Diner
out, that's diner slang. And BLT, that's actually originated as diner slang.
Ooh. What about moon over my hammy?
I don't know about that.
I don't know that. Yeah.
That's a Denny's. That was a Denny's menu.
Yeah, I don't think it
okay.
was. I don't know. So what I thought it would be fun, hopefully, that you guys don't know a lot of this diner slang. I thought maybe I'd give you some diner slang, and I've sorted through this because some diner slang is a product of its times. There's some stuff in there that you don't want to talk about anymore, but there's some stuff that's pretty interesting. So I filtered through it all and I found some diner slang. I thought maybe we do a little quiz.
Ooh.
A little quiz.
Quiz
Charlie,
away.
you're
Okay,
going
so I'm
down.
going to give you diner slang. You tell me what the order would have been. So remember, these are mostly
Oh.
breakfast. There're going to be some lunch here as well. Okay. So imagine a waitress yelling this to the back of house short order cook. Shingles with a shimmy and a shake.
Shingles would be pancakes with a
No, bread.
shimmy. Think bread
Guys, some open
and a
face something.
shake. Yeah.
Shimmy and a shake. A shake is a shake literally a shake?
No, you were close. You were close, Susan. So shingles would be buttered toast with jam. That would be the shimmy. So
Wow.
buttered
Okay, I
toast
get it. Okay.
with jam.
Yeah.
Okay. How about this one?
Wait,
You guys totally-
what's the shake?
I think it's, I don't know. I guess the
Because
butter.
because
I
it
don't know if
shakes
it's
on
the
top.
butter.
The jam shakes on top.
Maybe,
You
yeah,
put enough
I
on
think
it so
it's
that
both,
it shakes.
yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Cool.
Okay, this one you guys should definitely get because, well, you'll realize in a moment. Nervous pudding.
Nervous pudding, Jello.
Nervous?
Jello. Right.
Oh.
Jello. Okay. This
Yeah.
one, Charlie, I'm thinking you're going to get this one just because.
Wait, why wouldn't you just say Jello?
See, that's just it. That's why there's been
Because
a
you got the
hypothesis.
slang.
There's a hypothesis. People
Two
have said,
words.
oh, there was diner slang because it was faster. None of these are
That's not
faster.
No,
faster. Nervous
it's
pudding
cool.
is not
It's
faster.
cool.
It was cool. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. How about this one? Give me a bowl of whistleberries.
Whistleberries. Beans.
Yes. Baked beans.
Of course, Charlie gets
Why
that.
did you
what I
think I would
figured.
get that, Kevin?
I knew
Why did you
Charlie
target
would
that
get
at
it.
me?
Okay. Last one. This is the hard one. Okay. Burn one, take it through the garden and pin a rose on it.
Wow.
Yeah. These were long. They were not
Burn
fast.
one, take it through the garden. So you're gonna cook something. You're gonna put something green on it, like some lettuce.
It's
And
going to
then
be
you're gonna
well done.
Pin
and
a rose on it. A burger, well done.
burger with lettuce and ketchup.
Very close. It's a burger with lettuce, tomato, and an onion. The onion being the rose.
The rose.
Huh.
Yes. Isn't that fascinating? I
Yeah.
mean,
It
it's
is.
pretty cool. And you can see how some of that language. So that's
So if
That's
I
a
go to
little-
Red Robin and say, burn one, drag it through the garden and put a rose on it.
They will ask you to leave.
they
Oh,
will.
okay.
They will. Pack up
By
those
the way, Kevin, last
whistleberries
time I
on
was
the
in New
way.
York just a few weeks ago, I was looking for those dollar pizza places to see if they
Yeah.
had no slices on it. I didn't see anything that had no slices, but lots of them sold just slices. So I
Yes.
thought that was fascinating.
But they told you they're allegiancy. So
Yeah.
people that don't know that to listen to our one of our past episodes.
Yeah, about dirty milk.
About dirty
Yeah.
milk and Al Capone and cheese. So
Yep.
Mhm.
You can go back and listen to that on your favorite source of podcasts. So, all right, this is it for the inaugural edition of 3Squares Live. Thank you for joining us or listening to the recording. If you have a topic or a guest or something you'd like to have our food guru address, you can let us know by sending an email to 3squaresmail@gmail.com. That's the numeral 3, squaresmail@gmail.com. Kevin, Susan, thank you so much. It's always a great pleasure. And we look forward to connecting with everybody again on the next episode of 3 Squares. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye.
thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.